Okay, I'm going to talk about open innovation today and how the models of innovation are changing. I like to talk about the new R in R&D, the new research part in research and development. And again, we have this divide on the right-hand side. You see the developers, the engineers, the technology experts, the chemical experts. This is the solution domain. On the left-hand side, you see the consumers. And it's quite hard to bridge this gap, and we have new tools like market research, online communities, lead user approach, crowdsourcing, new market research methods, which help us to bridge this gap, actually. I worked many years for Audi, the car company, in the R&D department, and it always was quite hard to get any sort of user-generated specification or any input for the specifications. All the specifications were made up in our engineering department. So let me present an example. So you know this picture probably. You're in front of a shelf and you see there are many, many deodorants and you want to buy something. Now I want to put you in charge, and you are now responsible to create and develop a real revolutionary deodorant innovation. So you're in charge of this. And I'm not talking about, a new packaging or a new design or a new scent. It should be a really radical innovation. So this actually was the challenge with the brand Nivea. It was to develop the new deodorant, and you are in charge of it now. So what you do? For sure, you screen the other products. There are some deodorants which have 48 hours antiperspirant protection, so 2 days. Others have 72 hours antiperspirant protection, 3 days. Others, 96, which are 4 days. So do you want to develop a deodorant with 120 hours of protection, with 5 days? 5 days not showering, maybe? Probably not, but many developers want to do that because it seems to be very logical to have this row. Also, VW developed a car with 1,001 horsepower. I don't know if anybody needs this. Again, so you have to think, what does the consumer really want? Next step is the research approach. First step could be that you go into online communities and just listen what consumers talk about deodorants. And it's not about Facebook or Twitter. I'm talking about the many, many forums, boards in the long tail. And there are more than 200 of these forums where people talk about deodorants, which one to use, in Q&A forums, in sports forums, in health forums, in fashion forums. They talk all about deodorants. Beauty junkies was one example. And the right approach to do that is the ethnography. It's an ethnographic way to analyze the online community content. It's a 5-step approach. So you go into these communities and you read and learn how people talk about deodorants. And you collect pictures like this. There are only 11 now, but we have more than 100 of these ones. So people showing their armpits and they're having stains on their shirts. These ugly yellow stains on white shirts, which is from the aluminum chlorohydrate, but also other kinds of stains. So you see that they're really annoyed by having stains, and they have also to throw away their shirts because of these stains. So next step is for sure that you read the content, and there are more than 1,000 quotes only dedicated to stains. I will read some of them. Paula, she said from one forum, yellow deodorant stains, I tried everything to remove it, bleaching, soaking, rubbing with biochemical stain removing stuff. Or we have Sine, she said, Sine 7, prevention is the key. If you want to apply the deodorant after showering, dry your armpits with a hair blower. 2 minutes and there will be no stains anymore. So she's belonging to the hair blower group, which were much more than only her. Were about 50 people. We have Anna 74. She said, you could try spraying the underarm of your shirts with Scotch Guard before wearing them. So she's actually impregnating shirts because of the deodorant. Or we have Mr. Mastermind. If you just can get the stains out with detergent, hydrogen peroxide, or vinegar, make a paste to scrub in with your old toothbrush. The paste is formed with 1 tablespoon of cream of tartar, 3 crushed aspirins, full strength, ensure that they are white and have no color coating, and a cup of warm water. You can repeat the rinse cycle again and again. Doggy here asks how the stains will appear. It's quite complex because it's a chemical reaction between the ingredients of the deodorant, between your sweat, the textile, and washing powder. So if you get stains on your shirt, it could be the washing powder as well. And Gänsemama, she talks about, my husband also has this problem, and his stains are always hard and crusty. So the wording, hard and crusty, was repeatedly mentioned very, very often. Then you learned there's not only one stain. In the stain world, there are exactly 8 stains. There are big groups of these stains. You know, we have really hundreds of quotes for each of these groups. The yellow stains on white shirts, the white sweat or salt residues on black shirt, white deodorant residues on black shirts, bleach stains, oily stains, the crusty stains, and the smelly stains. You cannot see them, but you smell them if you iron your shirt. So you have exactly 8 stains, not only 1 or 2. And this is what people try to get rid of them. So they use citric acid, they use liquid, they use Correga tubs, they use vodka. So they have their own remedies in order to get rid of the stains. And they make whole experiments. So you're having this whole crowd of people talking about deodorants. But there are always some people who are much more involved than others. In this case, it's him, it's Tug. It's the Undershirt Guy. Tug. And the Undershirt Guy, he has a own blog, and he's blogging the whole day about undershirts. You know, which one to wear below your business clothes, your sports clothes, and so on. So he's probably the guy on the planet who has the most knowledge on undershirts. And you, as the responsible developer, what do? You ask him for help, for sure. You ask him to help to solve these problems. And here are some of the experiments, because people from his community, they send him t-shirts, and he tries different experiments to get out the stains. So then the Undershirt Guy, he helps you, posting also an interactive co-creation study on his platform, on his community. And these platforms could look like this. Such an online study which is gamified, very playful. The middle screen, you see different features of a deodorant, which is eco-friendliness, price, scent, pH neutrality, and so on. For sure, we integrated the problem of staining within there. We also asked the participants, if you have the R&D budget, on which idea would you spend the money? On the developing of a non-staining problem, or on a new scent, or whatever. And guess what? The staining problem was the issue number 1. We also did this study not only on the community of the Undershirt Guy, it was a representative studies in many, many countries with representative panels for deodorant users in Germany, France, UK, Spain, and so on. And all the time, the staining issue was number 1, 2, or 3 in all of the countries. Then you think, yes, but is it really my problem? Or should the detergent producer have a solution for this? But if you think again, it really doesn't care, because the consumer don't care who's having the solution. He just wants to have shirts without stains. The next step is the chemical development. And if you remember again the illustration that I showed you, and now we are moving to the right part, to the technology experts and the chemical experts. So they have companies like Beiersdorf, Hohenstein, Evonik, BASF working on this problem to solve the staining problem from a chemical point of view. And it works that the aluminum salts are dissolved in an emulsion, and get them coated, and you have some additives in the deodorant that they also coat the textile fiber. So this causes that the aluminum salts won't connect to the textile. And you do the shirt into the washing machine, and all the aluminum salts get washed out in the first washing. So this is the solution that really works, and the result is the black and white, invisible for black and white deodorant. Who knows this deodorant? It's the most successful product in the Nivea history since 130 years. It outperformed all sales projections. It's a market leader in the segment in, I guess, 20 countries, from Poland to Thailand. And we did also social media monitoring on that. It's loved by people. So people really love it. And you were the developers. And I guess one of the main success factors is definitely that you spend the R&D budget not on the 120 hours of protection, but on this non-staining issue. It's also published in a Harvard Business Manager, and it's the new open innovation teaching case in Harvard. So you can access the case on the Harvard website with many interviews of the responsible persons also at Beiersdorf and Nivea. So the outlook or the understanding is that the model of innovation changed. What you see here is the closed innovation model. You have, for example, a stage gate process, which is driven internally. So the R&D department is developing, and developing. They do not really have the input for specifications. They may have the input from market research regarding market data, but not for the product specifications. Maybe there's a market research in between, but then they launch the product. So you have quite the risk of failure because it's maybe over-engineered and so on. The example of the deodorant is quite a different one. We had many, many more contact points with the consumers in all stages of the innovation process. We had ethnography, so diving into the community dialogue in the early phases. We had integrated the lead user in the development. We had these co-creation studies. You can also do crowdsourcing, and we had for sure the social media monitoring in the end in order to see if the product is really that good and if the consumer's feedback is really that good. So you have the different methods which can be applied in the different stages of the development process, and then for sure to integrate the consumers much more interactively and probably to have a real blockbuster. Thank you very much for listening.